ask the press hall on behalf of the Ministry of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism to our regular press briefing. Today's press briefing is presided by the Deputy Spokesperson of the Government, Honorable Daniel Sando. Minister Sando will speak to you on training issues of national concern. He will also inform you about progress the government made and other issues related to the country, growth and development. I'd like to invite the Deputy Information Minister, who will now take the podium and speak officially on behalf of the government, after which he will officially invite our guests to the national podium. Mr. Sando. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the press. Good afternoon to our compatriots who are following this edition of the MICAT regular press briefing via the social media, community radio stations across the country. It's a good thing to be back here. We are coming closer to the 178th Independence Day of our dear nation. Now, we are happy as a country to be in good health. The state of the governance of our country is on course, and things are proceeding well. So we'd like to welcome all of you to the Ministry of Information regular press. We truly like to extent electricity is available, it is stable. Now, we give thanks to the brilliant leadership of the men and women of the Liberia Electricity Corporation, but you have to bear in mind that that sector is being regulated by the Liberia Electricity Regulatory Commission. And so today, they are doing a lot. They have been doing a lot. So we invited the LERC through its managing director, Mr. Augustus V. Guano. He's the managing director of the Liberia Electricity Regulatory Commission. Of course, Mr. Guano will, when given the opportunity, will discuss issues surrounding the LERC. It's a regulatory entity, so they regulate energy sector. You see that there's been a lot of privatization in the energy sector and everything. He will tell you some of the framework they put into place to expand the sector and to ensure that the sector can become viable for the sole purpose of making electricity affordable and available to residents and citizens across our country. But before we take Mr. Guano, we have to clear the decks of the Ministry of Information on certain issues. And Minister Pia is honoring an invitation from the legislature, so he's not here. Our Deputy Minister for Administration, Mr. Johnny Takpa, is also attending the launch of 2026 budget preparation. Assistant Minister of the First Corps is also attending a function at the Liberia Maritime Authority. Assistant Minister Mary Louisa Hale is representing Minister Pia currently at the Executive Mansion. So you see, it's a busy day for MICAT, but we have to get the press conference going. So I'm happy to have my able Director of Public Affairs here, Mr. Famole, to carry on. Something very interesting happened a couple of months ago, and it was a topical issue. The media was so busy with the news that the government of Liberia illegally, surreptitiously, nicodemously deported or turned over somebody to the authorities in Guinea, thereby threatening the person's life. There were all sorts of aspersions being cast at the government of Liberia. And you know, what we seek to do is to always remind our friends in the media, the job you do is not just to criticize the government. It's to seek the truth. And when the truth is uncovered, the same energy with which you had to tell the bad story, you have to employ that same energy in telling the good story. So much depends on the job you do. Yes, we are the public officials, we speak, but you have your microphone, you have your imprint, you have your newspaper, you have your radio stations. You drive the public discourse. Don't forget, you are a Liberian first before you are a journalist. So regardless of that exuberance, that passion, that political zest to be the loudest commentator around, the biggest talk show host, you say something about your country, when the truth is uncovered, you have to employ the same energy in helping to expand the truth. So this case with this Guinean national, and some people took the Liberian government to the ECOWAS court. Since the media had it in the news from you, the public, let me now see what happened to the ECOWAS court. The ECOWAS court dismissed that case. The case was filed on ground of enforced disappearance. So the case of enforced disappearance suit against the government of Liberia has been dismissed by the ECOWAS court. The ECOWAS Court of Justice in Abuja has dismissed its case filed by Ibrahim Khalif Sharif, a Guinean national, who accused the government of Liberia and Guinea of subjecting him to enforced disappearance and other serious human rights violations. In a ruling delivered by the court declared that the application is inadmissible due to what they call lack of standing, even as the court reaffirmed its jurisdiction to hear human rights cases against member states. The panel of justice, led by Sengu Mohammed Koroma, and with Gabriel Ouattara and Edward Amoko Asante as members. Mr. Sharif's lawyer claimed he was born in Liberia but raised in Guinea, and alleged that both countries colluded his unlawful, unquote, arrest and detention over accusations of armed insurrection mercenary activities, criminal conspiracy. The suit also claimed Mr. Sharif was arbitrarily detained on an indefinite conditions and forcibly imprisoned. For the Republic Bureau, lawyers representing the Republic Bureau to the court that the state acted within the confines of the law, indicating that Mr. Sharif was released and voluntarily transferred to Guinea, which he described as his country of nationality and Liberia, the first respondent, said that the process was made public, including a habeas corpus proceeding, and therefore did not meet the criteria for enforced disappearance, which requires secrecy about the person whereabouts. So, we were on talk show. They are lawyers, but we're on talk show accusing the Republic, the state, the government of endangering the life of another person. So since the media doesn't want to echo this news, the Ministry of Information is now telling the public that the ECOWAS court say everything that they say in our case about the government is not true. In fact, the court say the case is inadmissible. I mean, they can't hear it because the people who carry the case, they didn't get standing. Simple English. The World Bank has officially launched its 2025 Africa Country Policy and Institutional Assessment Report. The report revealed that Liberia achieved a CPRA score of 3.1, an improvement of 0.1 point from last year. The report evaluates the policy and institutional performance of African countries eligible for International Development Association assistance. Although labeled as the 2025 edition, the assessment covers development from January to December 2024, focusing on reforms and that supported effective public service delivery across the region. According to the World Bank's CPRA 2025 report, Liberia monetary policy remained tight throughout 2024. The report further stated that the central bank maintained a high policy rate, resulting in elevated real interest rates, while inflation declined to single-digit levels, a development the World Bank described as a notable macroeconomic achievement. The report highlights strong progress in expanding financial inclusion, particularly through the growing use of mobile money platforms. Liberia is also in the process of establishing a modern credit registry, which is expected to improve credit access and transparency. The Liberia Revenue Authority received praise for strengthening tax administration system through the implementation of the Integrated Tax Administration System, the ATAS, an automated system for custom data, ASICUDA. These improvements contributed to greater efficiency and increased revenue collection. However, the report emphasizes the need for broader ATAS adoption, improved custom processes, and stronger compliance enforcement. The report states that Liberia's highest scoring cluster was economic management, while its lowest performance was in public sector management institution. Officially presenting the 2025 Africa CPI report, The World Bank's chief economist for Africa, Andrew Dabala, emphasized the importance of effective governance in building public trust. We got this statement from the Ministry of Justice, and on the implementation of the 2018 concession agreement between the government of Liberia and the Traffic Management Incorporated, Liberia Traffic Management Incorporated, the government of Liberia wishes to provide the public with an important update regarding the implementation of the 2018 concession agreement with the Liberia Traffic Management Incorporated for the provision of comprehensive traffic management system throughout the nation. As previously announced by the Ministry of Justice on January 29, 2025, the government has authorized the Liberia Traffic Management Incorporated to assume its responsibilities on the 2018 concession agreement, which included the production and issuance of driver licenses and the provision of vehicle registration services to the public. This transition was scheduled to take place effective February 3, 2025. Unfortunately, the implementation of the LTMI concession agreement experienced a temporary suspension due to legal proceedings. However, the government is pleased to announce that the Supreme Court of Liberia, in its judgment rendered on May 28, 2025, resolved this matter in favor of the government, thereby declaring the legal pathway for the government to proceed with the full implementation of the 2018 concession agreement with the Liberia Traffic Management Incorporated. With this legal impediment now removed, the LTMR will assume complete responsibility for the provision of a comprehensive traffic management system as outlined in the 2018 concession agreement. Under this agreement, the Liberia Traffic Management Incorporated will finance, design, build, operate, maintain, and eventually transfer a modern vehicle and traffic management infrastructure to Liberia. This system encompasses a traffic ticket management system, a vehicle tolling and impounding management system, a city parking system, a vehicle inspection system, driver testing and certification services, a driver license system, a vehicle registration system, and the establishment of motor vehicle offices throughout the country. Wherefore, and in view of the strict adherence to the government's unwavering commitment to implement and enforce the LTMI concession agreement, the government hereby informed the public of the following critical transition details that will take effect beginning Wednesday, July 16, 2025. 1. All vehicle registrations, issuance of vehicle plates, and driver licenses will be conducted exclusively by the Liberia Traffic Management Incorporated, starting Wednesday, July 16, 2025. Citizens and residents are required to complete all vehicle registration processes and obtain driver licenses at LTMR primary facility located in Congo Town, as well as other designated sub-offices in Monrovia and across the country that will be announced in due course. 2. All renewals of existing driver licenses and vehicle registrations must be processed through the LTMI beginning Wednesday, July 16, 2025. Similarly, all applications for new driver licenses and vehicle registration must be submitted to and processed by the LTMI from this date forward. 3. All those who, prior to Wednesday, July 16, 2025, have already paid and commenced the processing of driver license and or vehicle registration at the Ministry of Transport headquarters on Warren Street, and other sub-offices across Monrovia and the counties can still go to those facilities beyond Wednesday, July 16, 2025, to pick up their documents. Those documents remain valid as long as they carry a date before Wednesday, July 16, 2025, which they should, since the fees were paid prior to the July 16 deadline. 4. The Liberia National Police, in collaboration with the Ministry of Transport, will continue to recognize and honor all driver licenses and vehicle registrations that remain valid beyond Wednesday, July 16, 2025, provided they were issued prior to this transition date. However, the public should be aware that only driver license or vehicle registration issued after Wednesday, July 16, 2025, by the Liberia Traffic Management Incorporated will be considered invalid and honored by the Liberia National Police and the Ministry of Transport. The government encourages all citizens to familiarize themselves with these new procedures and to plan accordingly for their vehicle registration and driver licensing needs. We are confident that the transition will result in improved efficiency, enhanced service delivery, and a more robust traffic management system that will benefit all Liberians. A team from the Ministry of Public Works, led by its Deputy Minister, for Technical Services, Mr. Prince Tamba, and a host of engineers, inspected the Greenville to Buchanan Road Corridor, which is approximately 200 kilometers. This corridor is pliable, with notable critical spots maintained and or rehabilitated, and those spots include the RTI. Welcome to RTI. Used to be a very terrible spot. Palm Butter Hill, the One Horse Corridor, among others. According to Deputy Minister Tamba, these inspections are geared at stabilizing major road corridors across the country ahead of the anticipated heavy downpour of rain this rainy season. The National Road Fund celebrates success of its second cohort's internship program. The National Road Fund has certified 19 interns from the second cohort of its STEM, which is Science, Technology, Engineering, Arts, and Mathematics internship program. The closing ceremony held on Friday, July 11, 2025, marked the culmination of a 3-month program for these young professionals, many of whom have already secured full-time employment or advanced opportunities in their respective fields. The National Road Fund Internship Program is a structured initiative designed to provide hands-on experience, mentorship, and professional development to young Liberians across various STEM fields. This year, cohort comprised of 19 talented individuals, each selected through a rigorous screening process that included academic excellence, minimum 3-point GPA, STEM qualification, and community endorsement. The program emphasized on practical training, institutional alignment to yield remarkable outcomes, and interim place at the Ministry of Transport, Engineering Society of Liberia, Jamal Medical Solution, the National Public Health Institute of Liberia, among others. The LIS continue to improve the system for its officers, and we have this announcement for them. The Liberia Immigration Services is embarking on a series of training programs to build up the capacity of its officers with the goal of strengthening border security. about 50 immigration officers are now undergoing enhanced training at the Liberia Police Academy, with 10 officers also departing the country for the People's Republic of China for advanced training. They are attending a seminar on civil aviation and management. They will be in China for the next 2 weeks. Lastly, before I invite Mr. Guano to the podium, the Liberia National Police has reinforced its commitment to professionalism, integrity, and accountability through a series of recent disciplinary actions taken against officers involved in misconduct. These steps follow investigative reports submitted by the Professional Standard Division, Professional Standard Department of the LNP, addressing various violations, including administrative police breaches and abuse of authority across various divisions. As we speak, the government of Liberia is, through the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning, currently at the ministerial complex, launching the National Budget Preparation Project for fiscal year 2026. The government of Liberia, through the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning, today officially launched the fiscal year 2026 process at the EJS Ministerial Complex in Town. The launch marks the commencement of the first phase of fiscal year 2026 national budget formulation, in line with the amendment and restatement of the Public Financial Management (PFM) Act and Regulations of 2029. The process informs pending entities of the procedures and planning processes leading to the formulation of the 2026 budget preparation. The event is featuring formal release of budget cost circular, which provides essential guidance to all government spending entities in the preparation of their strategic plan, programs, and preliminary budget proposals. The guidance ensure alignment with the arrest agenda for inclusive development, the AARD, issue under Section 17 of the amended PFM Act and Section 15 and 16 of the amended PFM regulations. The BCC1 outlines the timetable and instructions for preparing and submitting the budget framework paper and the draft national budget for fiscal year 2026-2028. It also provides indicative ceilings for recurrent and capital expenditures, a detailed fiscal year 2026 budget calendar, and instructions on prioritizing within available resources. Following that event, we provide the public with more detail. On that note, we, of course, I know I spoke to a lot of issues to which you have concerns and questions, but before we entertain questions, we'll now invite Mr. Guano to the podium. He will speak to you, and then we'll join the entertain the questions and respond. Mr. Guano.
Thank you, Mr. Minister. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Minister. My name is V. Guano from the Liberia Electricity Regulatory Commission. I am the Managing Director, and I'm here today to provide update from the LERC, as we call it in short. Well, Honorable Minister, Deputy Minister, Assistant Minister of MICAT, our distinguished members of the press, our listening audience, and consumers of electricity, fellow Liberians, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Board of Commissioners and management of LERC, I'd like to first of all thank His Excellency, the President, Joseph Joman Boakai Sr., for supporting our work at the Commission, and the Ministry of Mines and Energy for leading and coordinating the energy sector, especially the electricity subsector. The support has helped to enhance our regulatory functions. On October 23, 2015, the National Legislature approved an amendment to Chapter 85 of the 1973 Public Authority Law, which created the Liberia Electricity Corporation, which is LEC, and established the 2015 Electricity Law of Liberia. This amendment was printed into handbill on October 26, 2015, as mandated by law. The 2015 Electricity Law of Liberia positions the LEC as a service provider or operator and establishes the Liberia Electricity Regulatory Commission as the regulator. So this long-standing self-regulation in the sector was ended by the 2015 Electricity Law of Liberia. And the Commission, LERC, is responsible for overseeing and regulating the electricity sector. The Commission's roles include coordinating and accelerating the growth and development of the electricity sector, as well as creating a conducive and competitive environment for sustainability. Additionally, the Commission is tasked with licensing operators in the sector, approving tariffs, that is electricity pricing. When I say tariff, it's the pricing of electricity, and services, and also charges, establishing and monitoring technical standards and codes, and resolving service-related disputes between service providers, that's the operator, and the consumers, and also resolving disputes between operators. The LERC's regulatory work has not been without challenges. But despite the many challenges, the Commission, to date, has licensed 5 electricity operators, actually 4 licenses and 1 permit, developed and published 17 regulatory frameworks and instruments that are being used to regulate the electricity sector of Liberia. Moreover, the Commission has been actively involved in regional and continental electricity regulatory activities through the ECOWAS Regional Electricity Regulatory Authority, ERERA, as we call it, that is based in Accra, Ghana, the African Forum for Utility Regulators, AFU, which is a continental organization, and the African Union. We are members, we are part of a number of committees of ECOWAS, Regional Electricity Regulatory Authority, and for instance, the Consultative Committee of Regulators and Operators, the Legal and Licensing Working Group, which Liberia actually is a member. In fact, our legal team plays a major role. They are co-chair. And then we also have the Pricing Committee that meets to help regional pricing and everything. We are also a part. And when it comes to AFU, which is the African Forum for Utility Regulators, we are full-fledged member of AFU. In fact, we took part in the last conference in Douala, Cameroon. And also, when it comes to the AU, there's also this Sustainable Energy for All, and we're working with Get Transformed to introduce what we call embedded generation, where we're talking about the issue of net metering, which has to do with self-supply, or if you have a box electricity in your premises, like solar or whatever the case is, and you have a lot of them, there's a an opportunity for you to supply the SS to the grid, to the LEC. And there's a meter dedicated to that, bi-directional meter. So we are working on that also with a couple of partners. Specific achievement over the last 6 months are as follows. We now have a new electricity tariff approved for jungle energy power in Bong and Nimba counties. Well, it was 25, it's come down to 22. And Energy City in Bapolu County, which is a mini grid, it is not like the mini grid. They have a mix of solar and different diesel plants, which we call hybrid. The new tariff will last for 3 years, consistent with our tariff regulation and multi-year tariff methodology. The Commission will shortly begin tariff review processes for the LEC and Lip Energy in the Southeast, that is in Grand Gila, Maryland, and River G. For the LEC, we actually planned for last year, but you know there has been repeated changes in the administration, so we thought to be a little bit flexible in terms of getting to let them get adjusted. Now, we've upgraded our website and introduced online certification and licensing of electrical professionals and contractors, that's electrician. You know, in this country, we don't have any organized tools in place to evaluate electricians. So we rolled out, we did our regulations, those regulations about 2 years ago, and we relaxed it for about 2 years to ensure that we inform the public out there, the TVET schools and everything, to prepare for this. So for now, because it's going to cover the entire country, we have come up with an online portal that will be used to register and apply, and then we are currently working with the TVET institutions, the Ministry of Education, Vocational Education Department, Ministry of Youth and Sports, to come up with a harmonized curriculum that will be used as a basis for testing and evaluating electricians and contractors so that they can be licensed and certificated to perform, because in this country we realize that a lot of people go around, they are not even certified, they don't even have the training, they say they are electrician, and so now you say, oh, houses are burning. It's not only plain, you can't only blame LEC, but people that are doing substandard work. We are also working with the standard authority to ensure that the issue of standardization of equipment that come in, especially our wiring and different things. So we have a lot of work going on, working with stakeholders. We are not doing it alone. So the Commission is rolling out its online certification of electrical professionals and contractors across Liberia. The web portal for the certification is www.el.lerc.gov.lr. I repeat, www.el.lerc.gov.lr. Technical inspection. Since we completed our inspection manual and rolled it out, our technical team at the Technical Regulations Department that composes of a lot of engineers and everything, has embarked on technical inspection of licensed service providers. Because everything we are doing is within the context of our licensed service provider. Until you are licensed with terms and conditions, we cannot do much with your activity. So as we license, we go through those things. Inspection commenced with the LEC network in Bomi County, Grand Cape Mount, Magibi, and Monserrado counties. Similar inspection special exercises have been planned for JEP distribution in Nimba and Bong counties, as well as late energy distribution areas in Grand Gila, River G, and Maryland counties. Now, it will interest you to know that in Africa, the African Development Bank in 2018 launched a reporting requirement where they evaluate regulators across Africa, the entire continent. And they call it the Electricity Regulatory Index. And when we joined back in 2020, Liberia had no position because, in fact, the regulator was quite new. So we were at the bottom. That's for the 3 countries in Africa. But of late, Liberia has been doing well. Liberia has been ranked among the top performers in the AFDB, African 2024 Electricity Regulatory Index, ERR, which was launched on June 20, 2025 at the Africa Energy Forum in South Africa. The ERR is a composite index measuring the development of the electricity sector regulatory frameworks across African countries. It evaluates regulatory governance, regulatory substance, and regulatory outcomes. Liberia's ranking among the top 10 performers highlights the country's growing impact, sustained reforms, and strong political commitment to advance the power sector of the country. Liberia's rise in the ERR is part of a steady upward trend amongst 43 participating African countries. In the last 3 ERR editions, the country has climbed from 37th position in 2021 to 10th 2022. Now, we are in the 9th position in Africa. And in fact, based on analysis, the report says that despite being in 9th position, Liberia were among the first 5 that actually performed better in terms of regulatory governance and substance. In the last 3 ERR editions, the country has come this far, reflecting the successful implementation of policy reforms, stakeholder engagement initiatives, and capacity building efforts. Now, 2 years ago, we applied for membership to the Africa Forum for Energy for Utility Regulators. They call it AFU. And they did an evaluation of Liberia and were accepted, and we became full-fledged member. And were invited this year to the annual conference and General Assembly. Our first participation in the forum, which is the African Forum for Utility Regulators, comprising of all regulators in Africa. It will interest you to note that Liberia has been elected to host the 23rd Annual Conference and General Assembly of the African Forum for Utility Regulators in March 2027. That is a major milestone for the country and recognition and visibility. The election was held during the 21st AFU Annual Conference and General Assembly, which took place on March 6, 2025 in Douala, Cameroon. During this event, the Liberia Electricity Regulatory Commission submitted a successful bid to host the 23rd AFU Conference and General Assembly. So, not only have we been working very hard nationally, but regionally and continentally, we've been engaged with all our partners and doing everything possible to ensure that Liberia shines amongst our colleagues in the sub-region and also on the continent with respect to electricity regulation. So with all these achievements and everything, it is our hope to continue to work, because sometimes when you are praised or when you win some accolades, it makes you complacent. While at ARC, our job is to remain focused and continue to work with our licensed operators, our consuming public, our stakeholders, in whom we work with that the regulatory framework we need, the standards we need to lay out, the codes, and the different regulations are there. And the most interesting thing we did recently was the board approved our penalty regulation, which was forwarded to our stakeholders, and we had a workshop sometime back, I think 2 weeks ago, to familiarize our service providers with the instruments. So as a regulator, we don't operate based on instincts and everything, but we operate based on layout, clear regulatory framework and instruments that give clear directions on how to proceed. Because when we give our licenses, or license or permits, it's not a certificate that you see that we gave. Attached to the certificate is what we call the terms and conditions. You know what terms and conditions are? It means the guiding principles, do's and don'ts, and why you should do what we expect of you. So as a regulator, we've come a long way, starting from scratch, with nothing in place. Our focus was to ensure that there are instruments, there are framework that can be used as a basis for regulating the university sector. On this note, I wish us to express our sincere gratitude to the management of MICAT, the Ministry of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism, for granting us this platform to share information with the people of Nigeria about the university sector, especially when it comes to regulation. We extend our thanks to the media for their continued coverage and support of the Commission work, because during the past we've had specialized training for the press, for media, and telling you what we do. Well, our advice to you is we have a website that is very interactive, that is free to the public. All the regulatory instruments, all our major activities that are public related, they are all on the website. If you want to know about tariff regulation, you want to know about licensing regulation, the procedure, you want to know about the grade code, the mini grade code, the different regulation, the handbook, the licensing handbook and everything, they are all online and they are user friendly. You can go there and download and get to know why you're doing, because our intention is to ensure that whatever we do is out to the public. So we want to thank the media for covering this. At this time, we will be available to provide further information or clarification on various issues that you may have expected me to talk about. Maybe I didn't talk about them, but I just want to give this high-level briefing so that the public can get to know what the LDRC is, what we do, and how far we are going, how far we've come, and where we are headed. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. You can have the word. Listen to the presentation, please come in the queue. Please introduce yourself and have a question. Because only you give more questions. Thank you so much. My name is Trumbo Kamai. I work for the I have two concerns to make. You mentioned that you license about 5 institutions, and each institution where they will be operating, what type of electricity they will be providing, renewable energy or building many houses across the country. So that question is Nigerians are they're raising concerns about the monthly deduction of zero meters tariff for the zero meters that service providers do. Are you concerned about it? Since the issue of the test, and what are you doing about it? They are concerned that every time, every month, the service provider will deduct and be setting, electricity amount for their meters. And to Minister Sano, thank you for the update. Quite interesting. You talk about the transition from the Ministry of Transport to the Nigeria Traffic Management institution. We spoke of travel license and other issues, but I did not hear you speak about the meat of this entire transition, which is starting from the Ministry of Transport. We saw the other video protesting. Are they going to be transferred to a new institution, or do we deal with the Ministry of Transport? And so what the government is doing to ensure that these people who are working for the Ministry of Transport over the years get Thank you very much. My name is Bruce Massacre, and I report for Speaking about plans for a special portal for practitioners, including burial, in Nigeria, especially individuals, volunteers, opposing the community, and musicians. Now, I want to know, are there any action taken by your
My name is Joseph and I report for ABC Radio. To the Minister Samuel, for the first question, I want to know, you list all of the ministers here in the National Congress, but one key person absent from the press conference is the Deputy Minister for Tourism, because the ministry is about to transition. I want to know if there are any updates about the conversation. And to the head of the Nigerian Legislative Reporting, the issue of consumer, as consumer, we face issues with EXI. Many times you see people complaining on when they have issues with transmutual and other things. You can tell us if a old man listening to this press conference want to know what's the channel, or how can this old man starting a complaint because we talk about a website and not everybody will be, open to the digital age, but is there any channel which we can file in our complaints, and is there any the time frame for to get this complaints? Thank you.
So, my name is Alfonso Abdullah. I project directly to the this issue you spoke about when I asked you again, when you spoke about the issue of the energy in several communities in the country where I visited a few days ago, there are some people who complain that they in the community they put money together, but they are transformer. So after buying the transformer, the institution come and destroy it, and then the institution again, when they are about to use that particular anything happens to that particular community, the LEC come and take the transformer without informing the community. For example, when there's an issue with the transformer, they go and fix it, but the LEC still go back there and take the exact money from them without allowing them to use what they are paying for the transformer. So I want to address that thing. I also have to I'm from here. Analyst.
Oh, okay. Good afternoon, Mr. DG. My name is Christopher Besman. My name is MD. Good afternoon, Mr. DG. I'm Christopher Besman and I'm for against our please permit me to actually has the entity working to actively modernize the legislative sector and ensure party investment in Nigeria. And all together, the National Investment Commission is developing the public-private partnership to carefully elaborate on this particular law that will actually take effect of November 2025. Last question.
Good afternoon, my name is National from the New York newspaper. Two quick questions for MD1. MD1, how do you say the MICAT team of technicians in the power? Before the Indian information system of Nigeria, how you talking and doing anything like that. So I want to know how important is that Indian information system database being organized by the FAS, how does that get in the organization? Do you aware? And my last question is you talk about some revision when you want to do tariff with the LEC agency. What do you expect for that revision? Do you expect the price to go up or to come down? Thank you.
Since President Bouaka and 4 other African leaders were received by President Trump, and the particular exchange between President Bouaka and President Trump led to
some people are not happy about that. So you see the circulation of a lot of AI-generated videos purporting to be President Biden, expecting outrage, indicating that he felt whatever transpired an interaction between he and President Trump was insulting, blah, 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 blah. Several of those kinds of videos are circulated. A number of international media institutions have reached out to me to either authenticate or displaying a particular video purporting to be the president's personal coverage. And we thought this is a right forum to clear that. Folks in the media and those who are not in the media are paying keen attention to authentic videos and AI-generated videos. They're never the same. Watch the pictures very well. Watch the voice coming out. Yes, it's a smart app, so sometimes they may appear to look like the real. But we wanted to say President Bouaka had not entertained any interview, special recording, podcast, or anything related to the conversation between he and President Trump. So all videos you are seeing in that regard are all fake. And I hope this answers the question for all media institutions and individuals, both local and international, who may be coming across these videos and tempted to believe that they are either real, those are fake videos. We believe that whatever took place at the White House was positive. With comments regarding our country and the president, surpassing by maybe over 9 million and straight to go. This is a PR that other countries can spend millions for. We got it free. But angry people are trying to reverse something. And I just thought it was important to address it once and for all, that all of the videos you are seeing are not real, they are fake. The president returned to the country. Many of you from here were at the airport. He returned upbeat. Very glad that at this point he was amongst the first 5 leaders on the continent that President Trump chose to meet. The discussions were fruitful. Like I indicated at the last press conference, at least we have assurances that our Compact tool, which we've just benefited from before President Trump came to power, with information all around that they were canceled. At least we now know that they've been reviewed. Some members of the delegation who were in the U.S. and still there, like Minister Gafwan and others, were able to make huge inroads at the IMF and other places. We have reestablished the U.S.-Liberia political dialogue. The first version will be held in the U.S. We have some very good friends in the circle of the current U.S. administration who are ensuring that the country will feature very prominently on the radar of the current government in the U.S. All of those would never have been possible if we were not listed to be amongst those 5 countries by President Trump. And for those who are very disturbed about the positivity associated with that trip and generating all these fake videos of purporting to be the president, expressing disagreement, outrage, or whatever, please note that those videos are all fake. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Minister. first question came from TN News. He wants to, for 5 institutions, I made that correct. Out of the 5 institutions, we have 4 institutions with licenses and 1 with permit. You want to name LEC? In fact, LEC alone, because of the size and being the only vertically integrated utility and natural utility, has a lot of licenses. They have the generation license. In fact, 2. 1 for the thermal plant at Abushra, HFO, and 1 for the hydro plant at MICAT. Because hydro and thermal are not the same technology, so they don't share the same license. I don't think a truck driver and a keke driver should have the same license. So I hope you understand what I mean. Or a taxi driver. And then we have, LEC has generation transmission. In fact, they have 2 transmission licenses because the law gives LEC the authority to operate as a national grid company transmission network. So they operate the transmission network, that is the high voltage you see going around, and then they also own, on behalf of the government, the network. So they have 2. They could give one of them out to private operation, but that's it. And then they also have distribution license because they are into distribution as well. And they have an import license because they are getting electricity from Cote d'Ivoire. I think quite recently, I think Guinea should be added. So they have import license as well. Then Jungle, because the first agreement they had was before the LERC came in, the distribution and salmon license, we kind of did an amendment. In fact, we did a new license for them, for NIMBA. And then when Bond was added, we had to do a supply and an asset and license for them. So that's 2 right there. And then Lake Energy in the southeast, we also give them a license to operate in Grand Julia, River G, and Maryland, and part of NIMBA, that is from the Tapeta corridor. Then quite recently, we have a new mini grid operator in Bapolu. Before they will be servicing 10 towns in Bapolu, including Bobolu City. They call Energy City. We also give them a license, market utility license. So those are the 5 companies. Total is the one that has the permit. Total Electric Cooperative. They operate as a cooperative. So they have a permit to operate. I think when you go to Total going through the Morovia Kanta Highway, you will see that Total always with the street lights and everything. Their light is with solar and now diesel. Then you ask about someone deduct from you when you go recharge. What do we know about it? Of course, it is our doing. Let me move on to it. We call it the fixed charge. It's part of the tariff. And the fixed charge is not only for you, it's for the only people who don't have fixed charge are the social tariff. The tariff that with the LEC operator on, we have 4 categories of consumers. The first we have the residential, which is 24 cents per kilowatt hour. It used to be 35, 24 cents. And out of 24 cents, you pay a fixed charge of $2.48 every month. Every time you recharge in the month, you have to pay $2.48. But if you recharge 3-4 times the same month, no, there's no fixed charge. The fixed charge is once per month. So you will see that they don't take the money from you, they just translate it into kilowatt hour and reduce it. That's all. Because if you want to get the exact, then you have to add a $2.48 there. It's the same thing with medium voltage. In fact, they pay more. Then the commercial people pay for something. Medium voltage is around 10. But the social tariff, which is 50 cents, they don't pay anything. Social tariff is for the poorest of the poor. We call it lifeline tariff. So those who only want life for the children to study, or to just charge a little phone, they're not using air conditioner or electric iron or whatever, those heavy consuming things, percolator and stuff, because they have a threshold. Once you cross that threshold, then you're not in social again. So I just want to make that clarity. So that's it. The fixed charge, we are aware. But if anything is done in the LEC system that manipulates to do more than that from you, then you can let us know. We'll investigate, or you can take it to LEC. But we are aware, and it's part of the tariff regime. Luis Masakwe talked about Liberia Public Radio, the TVET. Are there any actions taken by the NDRC for individuals who are, we don't even know them. That's why we're bringing in this. And we are working hard with the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Youth and Sport, the MVTC, the BWR, all the different groups. So now that we have a database of them and they are licensed, They have gone through certification, everything. They are tested now. We can now have control over them because they will renew it. In fact, we're going to have inspectorate. The inspectors, when you go to electrical wiring anywhere, after everything, someone got to go and inspect and certify it. And then that inspector will put in their license number and say that this was certified by this, so that tomorrow when anything happens, in terms of the quality of work and everything, will hold you accountable. So I can't tell you that we can take any action. How can you take action against someone you don't know? They're not even in your system. You don't even know them. So that's why we are starting it now, so that we can get to know them and be able to have control over them. So that's how far we are. Joseph Ali said the issue of consumer there. How do you file in complaints? We've talked about it over public engagement. In fact, recently we talked about it at Corina Hotel and everything. We have our complete guidelines. We in fact have a regulation. We have complete guidelines, and you either do it online, or you do it in writing, or you do it with text message, or you do it with call. If someone cannot read and write, I know they have a family member who can read and write. If you cannot read and write, you go to our office. You will sit and make your statement. We'll take notes. But let me tell you the rule now. You don't bring any complaint to us unless you have exhausted all the options available for the service provider. For instance, if you have a complaint against LEC, or something to your meter got problem, or everything, you go to LEC and lay your complaint to them, because we have asked all of them to have their own dispute resolution guideline and everything, their customer charter. So when they do that, and then they don't solve your problem before you come to, or you're going to the Supreme Court or the higher court, you start from the magisterial court, then you go to maybe the circle court, and so that's what we do. So you have to first of all go to your service provider with your complaint. If they don't solve your problem, they don't listen to you now, then you complain them to the regulator. And when the complaint comes, we forward it to our Department of Legal, Licensing and Public Affairs. They will now write the service provider a letter, a communication that so person has brought a complaint against you, and this is the complaint. You have 5 days to resolve it. If it is not, then we'll summon you for hearing. So they will reply and say, oh, they will call you and solve your problem. If it is not solved now, we'll hire a legal officer, a lawyer in our office that will now summon you and go through the complaints, and then all the guidelines are there. So we have 5 days to look into it. So we have that in place. It's online. You can download it, or you can copy it and give it to whatever relative you have that cannot read and write. But we have family members who can help to read for all it. You want to do it, you escort them to the office. They will still explain, and the people will take note, and they'll put their fingerprint on their thumb there as evidence. So that's it. Joseph, and then he talked about the Alfonso from analyst, Leap Energy customer issue. Let me tell you the problem with Leap Energy. Leap Energy is a private company. That asset belongs to the government library through the LEC. When it was completed, with funding from our partners and everything, it was just there. LEC did not have the capacity to deploy staff in the Southeast, in Maryland, Grand Judah. Then Roger now has been added to run the place. So they decided to give it out to Leap Energy as it's done in MICAT because of the good example, the good performance of JEP, that public-private partnership, and coordination. Working together, they give it to Leap Energy. And then in our regulation, that's why I said the journalists do more research. We have a regulation called Customer Service and Quality of Supply Regulations. That regulation tells you everything about what the customer should do, your obligations, and the service provider obligations. For instance, you're not supposed to do any power theft. You're not supposed to bypass any meter. Equally so, they're supposed to serve you. So the problem here is the regulation allows the customers to invest in their own infrastructure if the service does not reach you or it is far from you. But here, this is how it goes. You have to write the service provider or the operator say that I live maybe 2 kilometers from the network. I have the capacity to buy my own transformer and run my own wire. When we do that, I want you to approve for me to do it, but I will pay for it. The regulation says, yeah, you can do that. When you buy your own transformer, everything, it becomes yours. But it's only for a period of 5 years. Within our 5 years, if the service provider make an attempt to connect anybody on your infrastructure, they have to reimburse you because they are not using it to serve other people, because it is only exclusively for your use. But after 5 years, it reverts to the service provider. It is in the regulation, so you can try to read that. So there's room for that. So the issue of leap energy in the Southeast is a challenging terrain, and the network, quite recently, LDC was changing some of the things they put in there because of they use the wrong equipment, some of the material, and they were changing them. So we are aware of that, and we are on leap energy as we speak. They just submitted a report to us, and they were on flat rate. They were not even giving customers, but right now they are installing meters a lot. Because that's the only way we can determine the tariff, your consumption profile. We got to have that based on your metering system. And then Chris Bestman said here that NRC is working to attract. What are we doing to attract private investment? That's the reason why the law was made, to bring competition, to liberalize the sector. So all we are doing to bring private investment is to make the sector or the regulatory environment predictable. When there is predictability, investors are comfortable. But if it's LEC doing everything or one thing, they will not be. But once there's regulator, they play by the rules, there are rules and regulations to guide it, it will bring investment. And you talk about NRC working on PPP. Of course, PPP is a very good thing. And we are encouraging it, but that should be done holistically with the Ministry of Mines and Energy or stakeholder inter-ministerial concession committee, the LEC, and different people, a lot of infrastructure that need to be, new one to be built, or different ones for different reasons, electricity infrastructure, because they are build, own, and operate, build, own, operate, and transfer, different models in the PPP. So we are sure that when they reach that point where we have to step in a regulator, we will do that. And then the guy from the new library, which is final question, said, the energy information system, what are we doing? We are part of it. In fact, that project is headed by the Ministry of Mines and Energy. According to ECOWAS rules, the ministry should be the one to have information on the entire energy sector, because they sit in cabinet, they go to the meeting and everything. So that system is stationed at the Ministry of Mines and Energy. But the regulator, the operators, including the private ones, will all provide information so that you, the journalists, can have access to OP information online. So we are part of it. We attended. We provide a lot of information from our end. LEC, did the same thing. The RREA, the private operators, all around, they did everything. So it is intended to have information because people want information for investment. That's why you say they don't have that information. They don't have those information. So we'll make sure that there is now the Energy Information Center where we provide all the data that investors need to make their investments. So we are part of it, but we are not responsible. It is the Ministry of Mines and Energy that is custodian of the Energy Information Center.
Thank you, Mr. Guano, for that rather detailed responses to the questions. So, Trocon and the other media failed to ask the same question. The status about the employees from the Ministry of Transport whose function have been affected. Why the government of Liberia is making effort to improve the traffic management system, the government is not insensitive to the plight of the people. So what I can say to you is that the status of employment remain intact, they remain current. Don't forget, that's a whole ministry. It is not being dissolved, it is not being repealed by out of the legislature. So no job is going to be lost by virtue of these actions. You can rest assured. Joseph Sadiq asked the whereabouts of the Deputy Minister for Tourism. Joseph, you got interest in the woman? Huh? Anyway, but to answer your question, she's on a trip abroad and she's due in the country in the next couple of days. Thank you. So let me now. Minister, anything else? Let me, on behalf of the senior management team of the ministry, you asked for the status of the employee. I said no job will be lost. All right.
We heard a report by TV that investors are arriving for the investment conference. I think this is the forum that you may use to update on that.
But the Nova group was here on Thursday.
No, they said they begin to arrive today.
But so the announcement they made here.
So who are the investors?
I can't say to you off the record how many investors have arrived, but we do know that there's an investment conference on Liberia that will be held. The arrival is today. They will have a reception today. Tomorrow is the opening section. They continue up to Thursday. So I show you'll be there. You know, DNUs can go everywhere now.
When you go there, you will see the investor.
See the investor, you ask them what you want to invest in. So thank you very much. On that note, we want to thank you for coming, and we look forward to seeing you on Thursday. And when you come here on Thursday, you will name the investor that you interact with, yeah?